Hello and welcome to MacGyver's Grant Public Library Storytime Tuesday. Today is our first story time in the month of November, and this month we're going to focus on being thankful. We have Thanksgiving at the end of the month, and it's a great way to just kind of work up to that and talk about all the things in our lives that we're happy and grateful for, and in ways that we can help other people. This book's called Thank You, Amu, and it is by Oge Mora, and this is the author and the illustrator, and the illustrations are those wonderful cut paper collages that Miss Vanessa just loves. And so this book was published by Little Brown and Company in New York and Boston. And it says, note to the reader, Amu, pronounced Amu, is the Igbo term for queen. And there is an end paper of a city or a neighborhood with all the streets and the houses. And as you can tell, it's all different kinds of paper that make up those houses. And look what they did right there. They used a map. Isn't that cool? That's so neat. So if we were doing story time in person, we would have all kinds of cut paper on the table so that you could do a collage. And we would have maps and old pages of paper, books and magazines in there too, so that you could do what this illustrator did. And you know what? When you come back to the library, we may just have to read this again so that we can do that. Here's another wonderful page. You can see that some of the pictures on the wall actually do have words on them. Some of the words are going up and down the wrong way, and some of them look like you can read them. Thank you, Amu. Let's find out what happens to Amu. Okay. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. Have you ever made a thick red stew? Look at Amu taking a taste. Do you think she likes it? Look at her face. I think she likes it. See, in the pot, you see that it's kind of red. It looks like they put flowers in the pot, the kind of material paper they use for that. What maybe is in the pot that makes the stew red? Can you see some things on the table that are red that might add that red color to that soup? And look right here. I love this. I love how that smell is going right out the window. Can you follow it with your finger? Can you follow it? Put your finger right up there. What a delicious stew, Amu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had. She's looking forward to her stew. With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block. And again, we're showing that wonderful drawing, the paper cut out to look like the smell of the soup, and that word wafting. Don't you love that word wafting? It means it's kind of sliding around, and it usually is used for smell. So you could say, that smell is wafting toward me. Until knock. I like how they do the word speak sometimes. Someone was at the door. And there's Amu reading. And there's somebody else in the building, and there's the scent wafting, and we're going to find out who's at the door. Amu opened it, and she saw, I like it when they do that, and you have to turn the page to see who she saw. Who do you think she'll see? Let's find out. A little boy. Little boy, Amu exclaimed. What brings you to my home? I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell. The little boy replied, What is it? Thick red stew. Stew, he said. Sounds yummy. There's Amu. She looks a little surprised that there's a little boy with his truck at her door, and there's that smell wafting out of the door and up into the hallway. Stew, he says. See how big those words are? And where she says, little boy. Big words. Kind of to help you say it the right way. I like it when they do that in a book. Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a lot. It would not hurt to share. Would you like some? The little boy nodded. And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the little boy said. And he went on his way. I like how they repeat those words. They say the thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. I like it when books do that. Can you see some more papers that have print on them? Can you see some more papers in the picture that have print on them? I see her pot holder looks like a map. See that? I don't see any more, do you? But I see a spoon and a cup and I see a bowl. A couple spoons and cups. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew, scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door and down the hall and toward the street and around the block until... Oh, let's find that. There's a little boy walking with his soup, and there's that smell wafting out, and you see how it's going all around. You can see it going behind the buildings there. And look, there's some people cut out of some paper that's got some letters on it. And then these are some, looks like old newspapers right here that are made. And there's a little boy walking on the sidewalk. There's some print under his feet too. Can y'all find some more that's in there? Can you find some more in the collage? Some different kinds of papers. Someone, oh, knock, knock, knock. Look how big those words are. Knock, knock. Someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw, and last time it knocked once, and this time it knocked twice. Knock, knock. A police officer. Miss Police Officer, Amu exclaimed. What brings you to my home? And there she is, Miss Police Officer. Can you see the officer? Do you see all that scent when she opened the door, sliding out of the door down the hall? Look at all that wonderful scent from that stew, just circling all around them. I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell, the Miss Police Officer replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ah, stew, she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. Look very closely at the papers that they used to make the policewoman and Amu and the hall. Can you see some more papers that have writing on them to make those pretty pictures? Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the officer said, and went on her way. Oh, look at that smell. Look at it going up all around Amu's head. And there's her pot holder that looks like a map. And there's a big bowl that she's giving the officer some stew. And so for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door and down the hall and toward the street and around the block until, how many knocks do you think there'll be this time? There was one the first time and two the second time. Knock, knock, knock. 3 knocks. Who could be knocking on her door this time? There's that wonderful smell wafting through the book. Again, someone was at Amu's door. This time, when she opened it, she saw... Let's see, so I'm going to let you look really quickly at the papers real fast that make up the pictures. See if you can find some writing. Can you find some writing on some different papers? You see the policewoman walking with her stew. See the construction worker. And the hot dog vendor. You see the man that's selling hot dogs? It was a hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor. Amu said. "What brings you to my home?" "I was selling my hot dogs down on the block when I smelled the most delicious smell," Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Oh, stew." The vendor licked his lips. "That sounds quite delectable." Delectable is a wonderful word, isn't it? That means yummy, 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 yummy. And look at that big smell wafting out the door while Amu talks to the hot dog vendor. And can you see some papers in this picture that have writing on them in our pictures? Can you see some writing? I see some writing. Delectable. Say that word. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. "Thank you, Amu." There he is. Can you see him smelling it from his bowl? She is very, very generous, isn't she? Let's see what happens. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker, and even the mayor stopped by. Let's see if we can find those people. Let's see. A shop owner. A cab driver. I see a doctor. I see a dancer. I see a cook, a baker probably, an athlete, a construction worker, a bus driver. Ooh, look, that might be a shop owner or the mayor. Hope there's a business person. Ooh, look at that picture. Can you see some writing on some of the things? Can you see all those people who stopped by Amu's house because her thick red stew smelled so delicious, so delectable. I like that word. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon the sky darkened, the street lights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. She shared all of her dinner. She didn't save any for her. Look at the bottom. There's no red sauce in that stew anymore, is there? It's just an empty pan. Amu sniffled. "There goes the best dinner I ever had." Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot. Poor Amu. It was really nice of her to share though, wasn't it? And look, there's a knock on the door. And how many knocks are there this time? Knock, 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 knock. 5 knocks. Let's do it together. Knock, 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 knock. Who could that be? Amu wondered. And when she opened the door, she saw... I like it when they do that. We got to find out who it is. Let's turn the page. The little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. Look at all those friends at her door. "I'm sorry, everyone," Amu sighed. "My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share." The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. "Don't worry, Amu. We're not here to ask. We are here to give." And see how they use that big word? Big words just like they did every time they said thank you, Amu. And look, it looks like he's hugging her. He's telling her that's okay. See how he's patting her arm right there? And there's all the friends. And they're here to give. What are they going to give her, do you think? The police officer carried a dish of fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate and danced and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. Look at all of her friends around the table, and there's Amu with her big red envelope. And look at how sharing brought them all together, and they all came back to give Amu dinner. And look at all of those wonderful scents wafting. They're all wafting out of the pots, aren't they? And I bet you that those goodies from the baker are wafting too. I like how baked goods smell. All right, let's see what happens now. I can't get the page to turn. Doesn't want to turn, does it? The dinner was the best she had ever had. And let's see what was inside her red envelope. This says, "Thank you, Amu." And if you look, you can tell it was written in crayon. And then, do you see some more writing here? There's some more writing there, and there's that pretty red envelope behind it. I liked that book. Did you like that book? There's some more wafting smell coming all around. And it's going all the way through around the whole book because it smelled so, so good. What is your favorite kind of meal? What is your favorite thing to smell that you know you're fixing to eat and you cannot wait until you can have your good dinner? What's your favorite meal? Let us know in the comments underneath, and be sure to be thankful for your friends who share, and be thankful that you can share with your friends. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.